Qigong is a form of mindful movement which is oriented towards self-healing. 93% of diabetes is preventable. Self-connection is the fundamental step to real connection with others. So I would say solitude is not a problem, but loneliness is in terms of health.
Hello and welcome to NuMee's podcast. Today we have with us Dr. Janani Dhinakaran. Dr. Janani Dhinakaran is the founder of Rise Wellness and Vice President of Whole Brain Health Initiative. After her PhD in Neuropsychology, Janani has worked in MindBody medicine and lifestyle medicine, helping people prevent and reverse illnesses characterized by chronic inflammation. She is the author of 2 books, Living Fearlessly, which is about developing inner strength and self-determination, and the other book is Tame Your Inflammation, which is a practical guide to reversing autoimmunity. Janani also conducts Brain Clubs, which is a dementia prevention class, and is a qualified Qigong teacher. Welcome, Janani, and thank you so much for agreeing to have a conversation with NuMee about your experience and your focus in terms of lifestyle medicine.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. One of the first things that I want to talk to you about is what is Qigong?
Okay, so Qigong is a form of mindful movement which is oriented towards self-healing. So we say it's MBA, so it's movement, breathing and awareness based.
MBA.
Yeah, it's an easy way to remember. So,
nice. Movement, breathing, awareness.
Yes, so I have an MBA now.
Yeah.
How easy is that? No, so it talks about the way that you can use your physical body with the awareness and coordination with the breath. Okay. And then you add the third element of awareness of how does the movement make you feel and getting in touch with what your body actually needs. So the sense of self-awareness that comes about. So it's actually one of the things that I draw most upon when I do mind-body medicine-based exercises for my clients. So that along with yoga, and it does share a lot of principles because it comes from the same roots as yoga.
Okay.
But it look a little bit more like Tai Chi. If you've seen the slow-moving people,
is that the Kung Fu Panda one?
Yeah, I mean you see these parks, right? That those of people moving like this. So Tai Chi is a more martial form. Qigong is what you do for yourself for self-healing after you finish fighting. So the Qi is essentially more drawn inwards for healing rather than outwards for attacking or defending.
So you use this or these concepts in mind-body medicine and lifestyle medicine?
Yeah, so mind-body medicine is a subset of lifestyle medicine. So within that, I would include exercises from Qigong, yoga, various meditative traditions, as well as things that are a little bit more modern, like self-hypnosis, visualizations, expression-based arts like drama or writing or music. Any of these, they essentially acknowledge and make use of the connection between the mind and the body in such a way that you can use one to influence the other. So for example, drama therapy would be, how do you use your physical body to embody certain emotions and then release them so that psychologically you feel better. So that's an example of another thing which falls under the same umbrella as mind-body medicine, but it's not as ancient and well-tested over like millennia as say Qigong and yoga.
Okay. And what is lifestyle medicine?
So lifestyle medicine is a bigger umbrella, right?
They're all connected.
Yes, yeah. So lifestyle medicine includes 5 primary pillars. The way that I describe them is usually food, so what you eat, when you eat, how you eat.
It's basically about your lifestyle then.
Right. So all the things that you do for yourself. So this is when I partner with doctors, this is helping the patients take on a more proactive role in their own lives. So the doctors take care of the clinical aspect, the testing, the dosages, So I don't go anywhere near that. That's their medical role. Lifestyle medicine is me teaching a patient or a client, whatever you want to call that, what their role is. So
they can help themselves.
Yes. So a lot of people take on a very passive, oh, doctor, help me, give me a pill, fix this. But it's actually, most people who are within the healing arts, they recognize that the only person who can really heal yourself is you. So what responsibility are you willing to take? How much of that, like how many of your decisions are more deliberate to make sure that either you never get to that point, or at least you can reduce your chances, slow down the how long it can take to get a certain problem, and then in some cases reverse it also.
Reverse as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on the disease. So some of them, for example, I think 93, the WHO releases these numbers about non-communicable diseases every year.
Yes.
And 93% of diabetes is preventable.
93% is preventable.
Right.
That's good.
Yes. So, I mean, people say, oh, it's in my genes, but there's a lot you can do. And I think that's something that if we can acknowledge and take that responsibility onto ourselves, we can hold a lot more, or we can have a lot more control. Than we're generally led to believe.
Yes. I think we all want a magic pill without doing anything to take away not just all the illnesses we have, but all our worries and stressors and everything. No magic pill exists, unfortunately, and it's good. So you mentioned something about 5 pillars of lifestyle.
Oh yeah. So the food aspect is what do you eat, but also when you eat, how you eat. So mindfulness in eating. So that, and also your hydration comes under the food part, right? Then the next pillar would be exercise. And it's not necessarily just exercise, but any kind of movement. So you usually pick things that you like to do so you can do them. But, you look at the cardio, the weights, the flexibility, coordination, the various aspects of fitness or health from the movement perspective. And ensuring that you're doing a variety of physical activities that gives you a little bit of both. A little bit of all
of the things, yeah.
So that's exercise. Then we come to sleep, which is the third pillar. I think it's getting a little bit more attention now than it used to.
A lot more attention now, yes.
Because it used to be like something of a matter of pride. Look, I only slept 3 hours last night. That's just, that's a culture that is fundamentally unhealthy, right? Yeah. I always tell some of my clients that the more well you sleep, the more active you can be, because the contrast between rest and activity needs to be nice and bright, right? If you feel like you don't sleep well enough, your activity levels during the day are just not going to be as optimal.
Yeah.
So sleep hygiene, habits, things that you do before you go to sleep, the things you watch, having an influence on how stressed you feel right before you sleep. Like if you're going to watch horror or violence, then, how is that going to impact your sleep? So the emotions that you feel impact your sleep as well.
Also binge watching, right? These days, Netflix or any of the series, we can't stop after watching one episode and we feel, just today. And we end up watching a lot more than we thought we would. Yeah.
So, I mean, nature gives us this incredible gift every single night, which helps every single system in your body
reboot or relax.
So whether it's your cardiovascular health, your immune system, your skin, your like beauty sleep, whatever it is, the sleep helps that, right? Yet we are the only species in the planet who purposefully fight
sleeping,
which I think, I don't know why we would do that, but we do.
We do. Yes.
So that's the third pillar. The fourth and fifth are often neglected. So the social connection, I think it's very important to acknowledge if you're lonely.
But how does one find out if they're lonely? As in,
you feel a sense of, it's a very subjective feeling that if you feel insufficient in the way that you socially integrate, if you don't feel like you have people you belong with.
In this digital world, I meant. Because everybody is so connected, right? Because you are on any of the social media websites and you have hundreds of friends friends. Sorry. So in that way, you have access to a large number of people socially,
Right.
who are your friends. So how do people even know if they're lonely then?
Yeah, so I think that the noise level of social media is very high. In the sense, what I mean by that is there's constantly something that's vying for your attention. And
Yes.
constantly giving you input. I would say if you're able to kind of put that aside for some time and just think to yourself or like feel into your body, do you feel like you're getting enough time? Do you feel happy with your social connections around you? Are you close enough? And rather than hundreds and thousands of friends, do you have 2 or 3 people who you can be completely yourself
Honest with.
Yeah. And you never worry or fear about any judgment. Or
I think
you don't
that's
have
one
to
of the
pretend.
biggest fears these days, right?
Right.
Fear of being judged, and
Yeah.
there's so many safe spaces where people want to go so that they can just be themselves.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah, so to create that, I think self-connection is the fundamental step to real connection with others. So I would say solitude is not a problem, but loneliness is in terms of health. Solitude is very good for creativity, for introspection.
Yeah.
But loneliness is a feeling that you want to connect, but you're not able to. And you could be in a huge family or a large gathering, but you're still feeling a sense of disconnectedness from everyone else. That's loneliness.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and that's known to be inflammatory. So there are studies that show a connection between loneliness and cardiovascular health. And there are some initial studies that show its connection to autoimmunity as well. But I would say I see it in my practice, like at the clinical level, I see it all the time, that when something on that front is missing, you can do everything else right, but it's very hard to get the body back into balance. Because we are social beings. We need social connection. We need love, caring, and even physical touch in a way that we need water, air, food, right? And that fundamental need that we have is something that a lot of people are saying, oh, it's just in your head, you just get over it type of thing. I mean, I had this mela, like a monsoon mela 2 years ago when I released my book. And I had a quiz for people who were coming by to engage them in these topics. Not even one of them answered that question on loneliness correctly. They said it's in your mind. It's not a big deal. But none of them seem to recognize what a fundamentally important need it is. So that is, I think, even though it's part of the 5th one, which is emotional well-being, I think I'm giving it its own category because it's that fundamentally important to us. That brings us to the 5th one, which is emotional well-being. And that covers things like, say, if you have your day-to-day stresses, work, family, all those things, as well as long-held emotions that have not been dealt with, maybe some traumas. Many people have gone through various kinds of traumas. And these are the kinds of things that show up in your body
later on.
Yeah, or even immediately.
Okay.
If you haven't dealt with them, if you don't have a system or a method to kind of deal with them. So the first step with that would be awareness. To even just
a lot
know
of things, I guess.
This is how you feel, right? And saying it's okay to feel this way. But, what can I do to process it? How do I? This is where all the MindBody exercises can come in and help you. So these are the 5 main pillars, but I would add like a bonus pillar for brain health, which is cognitive challenge. So the
This
more
is specific from the work you're doing in dementia.
Yes. So if you can not stop learning from school, but continue to challenge yourself, get outside of your comfort zone throughout your life, learning languages, instruments, anything that interests you, it tends to pave more connections within your brain that act as a backup system when one may fail. So it builds more resilience in the brain. So that would be a bonus pillar.
Good to know. Yeah. I will continue to do my wordle challenges every day.
Yeah, but it's beyond that. It's like if you meet 5 people, can you remember all their names? So these are the more So a lot of people believe in these crosswords and puzzles will do a lot.
Yeah,
it's more.
I thought so.
It does some things.
Okay.
Right? It's not like totally useless, but I think the social things that you deal with on a daily basis, like if you have a list of things to do you write them down? Can you figure out a way to keep them in your mind without writing them down?
Oh no, I don't even write them down. It's all on the phone, on an app now.
Right.
Okay.
So how much can you remember without these memory aids, and how long can you continue to do that for? Right? Because this is the stuff that when you're 95, you may find them more challenging, or even 70s, right, or 60s. Some people start to find these practical things, like I'm going to the shop. You can use
I think
a list.
can bring the age even lower. On 60s also, I think we all struggle. I definitely struggle to remember. Like I said, I have to note it down somewhere, and only the top 3 or 4 is what I remember generally. And if I ask, I'm sure my kids won't even remember half of it, right? Because
some of it is also to do with overstimulation and attention, because we just have so much input coming in that our brain's not able to say, okay, this is important, that is not. If we have a generally quieter mind, we wouldn't have this much problem with attention, right? But because we're like
overstimulated,
all sorts of content, constantly consuming the content, there is so little space left to kind of process, digest, allow things to sit. I think that if we challenge ourselves on more day-to-day things that we are going to have to do for the rest of our lives, that will be a lot more useful and practical for our brain health than, say, puzzles. There are some researchers working on computer games that will help retrain the brain. So things that involve more quick response times and things like that. So UCSF is working with some gaming companies to come up with these and research what works with dementia prevention the best. But this is all to do with brain health from a technology perspective. So not all games are bad, actually. Video games are not necessarily bad. If they have certain elements that promote brain health, they can be a pretty good aid for us as we age. Yeah.
At the start, you mentioned about preventing some lifestyle diseases with the aid of lifestyle medicine or mind-body medicine. So what are those, or how do you use them? So we have gone through the pillars and how it's basically how we live our life, because we covered nutrition, food, water, sleep, mind, all of those, loneliness, social connect. So how do we use these various components to prevent any diseases or non-communicable diseases or lifestyle diseases?
So the general principles that apply to almost everyone? Okay. Because most of the stuff I do is very customized for each person's specific current lifestyle and what they need to balance out, right? So general principles, I'd say within the first pillar is, can you make sure you're getting enough protein? So the amount of kilograms you weigh, that many grams you want to consume every day. So that is something that many people fail to do. So that is one within food. The second one I would say is hydration. To just become aware, does your body actually need water, and when? So based on the temperature around you. And so, there are people who use this, like I have 5 bottles in front of me and I have to finish them by the end of the day. They have that kind of a system. But I'd say that's not really encouraging you to become aware of your body. It's not really honoring your body's signals. It's just a very mechanical kind of an approach. So I'd say what are the signs that your body gives you when you're thirsty? Maybe your lips go dry, your eyes feel dry, your skin. So
and you get a headache. That's one of things that happens to me. But it's a bit little late, I guess, for me to figure out that I need water by then.
I would say even the dryness in the throat is a little bit of a late signal. There should be signals much earlier that kind of indicate, I need some water. So does the idea of water make you feel like getting a little bit, just a sip, right? And how do you drink and how do you eat and take care of your skin in a way that keeps the hydration in your body? So absorption and retention, right? So this would be the second thing that I start with everyone. I say, can you become aware of your thirst signals, right? And then So those would be within the food category. And I think one more that I'll just throw in is let's get rid of sugar, especially the refined sugar. But also when people say I use only jaggery, not sugar, you're still using the same level of sweetness. So it's not really what causes the glycemic, you want to look for lower glycemic foods generally to eat so that your blood sugar doesn't spike, but it's a little bit more moderate. The blood glucose level goes a bit more moderately. So if you're able to combine something sweet with something high protein and fat, you're going to have a much more stable blood sugar rise, and it's going to stay here rather than a spike with any kind of extremely sweet starchy food. It goes up. So you don't think of potato chips or rice as sweet, but they are extremely high in glycemic index.
Carbs.
And that triggers, your insulin response, inflammation cycles, and these kinds of things kind of cascade from that. So keeping your blood glucose levels stable and even, it will be really great for your mental health as well, because then you don't have these anxiety, temper, feeling kind of, because what happens when you have those spikes is there's blood glucose available in your blood, and then it's not, because the insulin comes in and takes it away. Then you take your next shot, or it goes to the next hit, right? Because I'm using these addictive terms because it is addictive. Sugar is addictive. And you're
saying these to prevent, not somebody who already has diabetes.
I'm saying everyone. So this sugar, no sugar, sugar, no sugar. It's a very inconsistent. The brain doesn't like that. It's very frazzled by those kinds of inconsistencies. Where if you put it on a much more stable type of system, you're going to have a lot more mental clarity, a lot more emotional regulation, right? So I'd say that's the third one from the food pillar. In terms of exercise, choose something you like and just do it, right? It doesn't have to be going to the gym and lifting weights. If you like yoga, if you like dance, hiking, gardening, digging in the soil, whatever you like.
Regularly.
Yeah,
anything that you can do regularly, consistently.
Right. Yeah. And change it up once in a while, right? If you've been doing a lot of weights, you want to do more yoga, stretch it out a bit, work more on your coordination, balance, do some dance, so you kind of challenge the various aspects of your fitness, right? And I think there's this other thing called non-exercise activity time, which is, for example, it's not really about exercise, but how active are you? So if you dedicate 45 minutes to gym time or exercise, and then you're sitting for the rest of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't really do much for you. But if you're going to be okay, I'm going to go grab some water. So don't keep the bottle next to you. Go grab some water. Or you have some of these apps and watches that tell you,
yes, you've
been sitting for too long.
Yes.
Go get
time to move.
Right. So, and you say, okay, if there's one bathroom here and another bathroom further away, go to the further away one. Or if you're going to park further away, or take a previous stop and get off at a previous stop and walk. All of these are non-exercise activity time.
But they get you to move.
Yeah, they make a difference to how you perform during your day and how active you are, and how active your mind is also. Because you think better. I think people should have walking meetings, because you think better when you're moving. So
I read somewhere, or I think I saw somewhere, Steve Jobs always used to have his meetings as walking meetings.
Yeah, okay.
And there are so many standing desks
and
things which generally help. So
there's a set of things that you can do at your desk as exercises using resistance bands.
Yes.
So as you stand, you can still get some of if you can't make separate time for exercise, just do this.
Good. And especially with working from home, I guess you don't even have to feel conscious about doing something.
Oh, but if you do it in front of people, other people feel
motivated, probably.
You're giving them permission to do it too. Because I did this in the airport once. I started doing Qigong in the Hong Kong airport. And then there are 2 or 3 other people who started moving and stretching. And I was like, yes. All we need is
somebody
one person to kind of break out of this norm.
Yeah.
And then everyone else feels free to
do it. Yeah.
So don't hesitate. If you're in an office, you be the one to set them all, happy to do these things. Yeah.
Nice.
So that is exercise. Sleep, I would say, I think these are standard. There are so many people who talk about sleep hygiene now. So essentially make sure you get the same sleep time and wake up time every day.
Timing is also important. I didn't actually think that. I didn't think that would have an impact, but I'm finding out that it does.
Right. Because otherwise it's what they call social jet lag. So you stay up on weekends and you get up late, and then Monday you have to adjust to a previous time zone, essentially. So I think that's one of the most basic or most important ones. But then there's also about like we talked about, entertainment before sleep, scrolling through your phone, reading. What kind of lights do you use? More bright white lights or more mellow incandescent lights? So or maybe just candles. I mean, there's this thing that we tried once called no screen evenings, where we just don't use any form of technology, and we just switched off the lights, use candles, and you start to notice that your sleep signals from your body follow the sun at that point, rather than the electric lights that we use. So try no screen evenings, and you'll find that your attention to your family members also improves, your relationships improve.
It's calmer, there's no noise, and you're actually more attuned to hear a lot of things.
Exactly. And you feel your body allows you to feel the tiredness earlier, so you feel inclined to sleep on time. So following, like respecting the sun, I think is fundamental. Yeah, so that's for sleep. And then social connection, it's very difficult to have like a standard recommendation, but to firstly take it seriously and to nurture relationships. Have a few people that you connect with regularly. Look for that strong, intense, emotional intimacy. And it can be with friends, your partner, in anyone really. But have at least a small circle, if not a larger group, but value that and prioritize that. And I'd say in-person interaction always has a little bit more. But if all your friends are in a different time zone, just make it a regular thing that you meet up with them on Zoom.
Another plus for technology in terms of how good it is and how it enables us to do all these things, which was not possible previously. But
So that's the only thing you can't do over like Skype or Zoom or any of these is hug each other. Which is so important though. But it can do, I'd say, 90% of what we really need. If you're already close to them, you can get that from that. And the last pillar, emotional connection, I would say have some kind of what feels like a way to check in with yourself. So some people would use the diary to write about their thoughts, emotions, experiences. Some people will use more meditation, more free-flowing type of association, quietness. Some people will do like a run or a walk to feel that sense of space, right? And okay, this is how I feel now. I'd also encourage, in that first book that you mentioned, like Living Fearlessly, I have this section which talks about talking to yourself. So you look at a mirror or you pretend you're on a phone call.
With yourself?
Yes. And because you're the only one who's with you for your whole life. And you know yourself in a way that no one else, you don't have to explain anything.
I think most people think we do, but we rarely spend the time to listen to ourselves.
And to get to know yourself.
Because you're more worried about perception. That's what I feel. And I think from my reflection, that's one of the things I have become more aware of in terms of when I'm trying to think about somebody else's view of me rather than my view of myself, right? So that helps. And I think one thing that I use or have started using for a few years now is gratitude. And that has really helped me put a lot of things in perspective and feel happy and blessed.
It's a very powerful exercise.
So that helps.
So these are some more general things that I would say help everyone. I think it's everyone is capable of doing these things to a large extent, taking control of some aspects of their life, maybe one at a time, and seeing how does it feel when you do it versus when you don't do it.
So have you had any cases or examples or clients coming to you without an illness, but just trying to find out about how they can prevent something and get their life or check in with you to see if everything is okay?
No.
So why is it? Why do you think people don't do it? Is it because people feel it's not going to be me, or
So
I
I'd
don't
say
need it.
there's a couple of things that happen with that, right? In group classes, there are plenty of people who come for prevention, right? Because it's a very low stakes, kind of a socially interactive type of a setting. And the focus is not on them completely, right? So that increases the comfort. But having said that, I think many people who don't currently have major health issues that are obvious or no diagnoses, they believe that they are fine, right? And they often adjust to certain mediocrities in terms of their energy levels or digestion or
link it with age.
Right. Yeah. Just write it off.
Write it off with age.
Have to get used to this now type of thing. Not realizing that you could feel way better. You could thrive. So why make do with less? I mean, that's not a question that comes to them. And a lot of people also see other people go through things and say, yeah, that's never going to happen to me. Right? That's just an optimism bias type of an approach. And I think we don't even like to engage on questions of suffering until you've either seen it very close
very close,
or you feel it yourself. Like, this is not what it used to be. I'm starting to feel creaky, or, you know, not as sharp as I used to be. And I used to do that and I can't do it anymore. I think there's like, there's some aspects that do change with age, but there's a lot more that's in our control.
Which I think a lot of us, me included, I think we refuse to acknowledge. And I think we are grown up with it, right? We grew up listening to our parents or grandparents saying, it's okay, this happens with age. It's okay, this happens. And I think we just stretch that it's okay, it happens with age to cover a lot more than it's okay. So when you meet with your clients, how do you help them make the transitions? So what I'm trying to understand is, how easy or difficult is it to make these lifestyle changes? One, to recognize them. I guess that is one of the biggest challenges. And then after you've recognized it, to actually make it.
Yeah, so there are people who are very ill, but will still not come work on their health. And there are people who don't want that responsibility. They
don't want the responsibility?
They don't want to acknowledge that they have the power. Right? So there's that category as well. But I think that there of the people that I see, obviously there's more of the other people who are proactive. They feel a sense of, I don't want to live like this anymore. Right? And so you need to reach that point to be really ready to make these fundamental shifts, because they are not easy to make, right? Lifestyle changes, especially if you're set in a very kind of rigid or like a set pattern, it's not easy to change so many things
at a time.
So the system that I use to help them make it easier is to make sure that there is joy in pretty much every change you make. So rather than to say quit sugar, I'll say, what are all the vegetables and fruits you've never tried before? What are all the cuisines you would love to explore? So make it a more open curiosity and reframe it in such a way that you recognize all the variety of things that you could be eating, which are so delicious, but that has nothing to do with sugar. Sugar is almost forgotten in the back, right? So the reframing aspect, I think, is very important, to not feel like, oh, I can't have cake anymore, right? So rather than to feel sorry for yourself and have the focus on what you can't have, shift the focus to what you can have. And when you say no to certain foods, a whole other set open up, right? So, and those are really enjoyable, right? So the joy aspect is very key, because if they're not going to enjoy it, they're not going to do it long term. And I'm not doing like a 3-month get you ready for a wedding type of weight loss, or, you know, it's not that type of, right?
It's a lifestyle change.
And it's for you to be thriving when you're 95, you know, lifting your great-grandchildren, going up and down the steps by yourself without assistance. That's what we're working towards, right? So it's you need to enjoy it to do it for a long time. So finding joy in the changes is like fundamental, right? The second thing that I emphasize is tracking and self-awareness. So tracking is things like, okay, it can be weight, so or your tape measure of your waist or whatever. So what is it this week? What is it next week? What is it 2 months from now? So on. So you can see the progress that you're making. But apart from weight, also your energy levels, your focus, the quality of your sleep, your digestion, and just on like any other parameters. So if you have pain or if you have certain other symptoms, and then you go to the doctor and you get some numbers from them. Okay, this is what my blood test said before and now it. Yeah. So it can be objectively measured from the doctor's end, or things that you feel for yourself. That's more self-reporting, subjective. But tracking and knowing what to track is really important.
Yes.
And along with that comes that self-awareness of how am I feeling and why. If I'm feeling a bit more fatigued now than I did 3 weeks ago, what is it that I changed? Have I introduced something new in my food, or have I stopped doing certain exercises? Have I been not sleeping enough? Have I been going through more stress? Yeah. So whatever it is, to kind of say, I feel different, to first know that you feel different and why.
Yes.
Right? So if you have that one skill, you are going to be able to, like, long after they're done working with me, they don't need to come back because they've integrated a system into their heads or their bodies in a way that they're much more aware. And that awareness is their golden ticket to health. Because I was just a facilitator to teach them that, or to re-teach them, because you already have it as a child, right? To help them remember that and get back in touch with those body signals and learn the importance of respecting your body, it's the signals that it gives you. And once you have that connection, you don't really need anyone else to kind of, I mean, you can have partners that support you, but you don't need it the same way that, like a passive approach would be like, oh, you guys do it for me, fix me.
I know. So a lot needs to come from the person themselves. One, the need to want to change, the acknowledgement, awareness, which you've mentioned a few times, starting from mind, body, what actually is happening, and then awareness to want to change. And then I guess later on is how to change, and commitment and consistency.
Yes.
Follow your progress, keep track of what's happening, because it's not overnight fixed, right? We have probably done so many things for years, which we shouldn't have as part of this is how we live. And then we say, okay, I'm going to give this lifestyle change a shot for a week, and then let me see how it goes.
But you'd be surprised that people do see changes within a week or two. Because your body is really intelligent and it responds to good stimulation, like whatever the healthy conditions
even
are.
If it's a week or two, I guess what the body is looking for is consistency in that week or two,
right? In
what they do, and not 2 days a week and then no change.
I had a carrot once. Of course, I eat vegetables.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So, but the other thing that when you say consistency, I want to kind of balance that out when you're doing it for the rest of your life, right? There are times that, life throws us curveballs and things get hard, you travel, habits break. But get back to it. Right?
Exactly. So you do, it's not an uphill, it's not uphill rather. It's not
linear.
It's not linear. It's a journey. So there are ups and downs, and as long as one is aware of it and wants to get back to it, I guess.
So when you find, okay, I haven't been able to do this for a certain amount of time, or today I missed XYZ, then self-compassion. Life is hard.
Yes, it's okay.
There's no point getting more stressed. Oh, I didn't do it. Then that's like counterproductive, right? So self-compassion, I couldn't do it, but tomorrow I will, right?
Yeah.
So, but to come back is really the important part, rather than to kind of judge yourself or beat yourself
and
up.
drop off.
Yeah. Giving up is probably the worst you can do, right?
Yeah.
But even if you try, say, like I talk about all these recommendations, but even say 30 to 50% adherence to them, and then streamlining them, because initially there's a lot of work.
Yes.
But then as you progress, you notice you may not need to do it in the same frequency, and your maintenance becomes easier. Right? And so if you find a way to streamline those things, you'll notice like you're doing 30 to 60% of what you were doing initially and still seeing very good results. Right? And this is what they say about an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yes.
Right? I like metric system. It makes a lot more sense to me, but I like that phrase.
You like the phrase?
Just because it is so true.
It is.
You would rather not suffer, trust me. Like the way that people end up going through so much doctor visits and all the stress around it, the whole family becoming concerned, and going from medication to this medication, all the side effects. My goodness.
I've seen that.
Yeah, dangerous stuff.
Yes.
And if you can prevent that entire type of suffering, along with the emotional aspect as well as the financial aspect, pressure that it puts on your whole family, there are some very simple. So that's the thing with lifestyle medicine. It's not profound. It's not rocket science. It's very simple actually.
Yeah.
But it's so powerful. And you can.
People might even call it the boring stuff. Eat well, sleep well. What is this? I'm going back to school. But that works. Yeah. Eat well, sleep well.
So that would be the magic pill actually.
Yeah.
If you had a pill for all the stuff that lifestyle medicine can do for you, everyone would be buying it in like truckloads, you know. But it's not a pill. It's something you do for your own body, to honor your body.
Yeah.
So
excellent. Thank you, Janani. This was a lovely conversation. Thank you so much for coming here and having this chat. And hope all of us can follow these simple tricks or recommendations in first being aware of what we do and trying to keep things simple and do what was actually told in school probably. Eat well and sleep well and exercise and continue to have your friends. So that covers 4 of the pillars, which will hopefully help with the 5th one, which is your emotional well-being. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.